So good morning, guys. You're very welcome to today's class, Sunday's class. To begin, we are going to take a seat. So we're going to just take a seat and begin by, in a sense, stopping. And we'll do a little bit of breath work as we do this. So take a seat. If you want to sit down on your mat, whatever way works for you, maybe use the support for your pelvis. If sitting down on the floor isn't comfortable, grab a seat, sit up on the seat. Have a little sense of sitting tall. So as you come into your seat, whatever it is, let your attention go down to the foundation and just feel into the hips, feel into what you're sitting on. Just have a sense of that. And it's great for the nervous system to feel the solidness that surrounds us or holds. Founded place, from that foundational place, you take a few deeper breaths, a little shrugging in the shoulders, with the idea of just opening, lengthening in whatever way is available. It's not about forcing or straining, but just about exploring the body's capacity to inhabit this fuller space. And then as you do that, we're going to close our eyes and then bring the attention to your breath. Just notice your breath. It doesn't matter how you're breathing, doesn't matter what's going on. However the breath is naturally arising for you in this moment, can you tune into that? Can you be close to that? Can you be close to that? Just notice it. And of course, part of what happens as we begin to slow down is you're going to become aware of what other stuff is moving through you this morning. What other stuff is there for you, is present for you. That in any given moment, through any of us, there is a cacophony of experience, that we are these complicated, complex beings. And a lot of what we're doing through our practice and the invitation of yoga is this deeper dive, this endeavor to explore ourselves, to understand ourselves. And we work on the premise that as we take this journey, as we do this work, as we reveal ourselves to ourselves, there is a quality of freedom that becomes felt, that becomes experienced. And there's kind of two qualities that we really work with exploring, and one is this masculine aspect, and then there is the quality of love that is often attributed to the feminine aspect. And we're working with both these qualities and exploring these sides of ourselves in order to really drop into that place that is in every moment connected, balanced, at peace. That place is always there. The Buddhists have this beautiful phrase, the ground of being. So our practice is an invitation to really meet ourselves where we are. You know, even if we're disgruntled or there's something difficult happening in our lives, to acknowledge it, to feel it, to give ourselves an opportunity to really meet what's there for us. And in that process, even if it's a difficult experience, there's a quality of freedom that then becomes felt in that it's like an authentic journey for us. There's an authenticness in meeting, be it our joy or our discord, but whatever is there for us in this moment. So notice your breath. If you can breathe through your nose, see can you do that. If you can't, doesn't matter. And I want you to begin to breathe, inhaling for a count of 3 and exhaling for a count of 3. Just really simple. And the breath is almost slow motion. Almost slow motion. So 1, 2, 3. And then the same with the exhalation. And just staying with this breath. Staying with this breath. Staying with this inhalation and exhalation. And then if it feels okay, possibly we go a little further and we'll inhale for a count of 5. If it feels like too much, feel free to go back to 3 or 4. But make the breath as comfortable as you can, even though part of this practice is usually a little uncomfortable. In that we're purposely becoming aware of and slowing down things that are usually unconscious and a little raspy. So just staying with the breath. Now at the top of the next inhalation, could you pause for a couple of seconds maybe, whatever feels comfortable. And then the exhalation, and then we'll have that pause again at the end of the exhalation. So just a space between the breath. And particularly at the beginning of the exhalation, notice if you're pushing, if there's a sound, just soften it all, soften it all. So there's a uniformity and an ease and a grace to all of the breath, a gentleness to the breath. Staying with it. And then for the last few rounds, can you drop any of the counting? Stay with the general form of the breath. Longer inhalations, exhalations, pausing between the breath. But just really observe the breath, be close to the breath. Beautiful, perfect, okay. And let's come back to the natural breath. So of course, a lot of what we work with through our practice is going into these places that are a little uncomfortable in one sense or another. Not necessarily physically uncomfortable, but quite often emotionally or psychologically uncomfortable. That we're used to moving, thinking, feeling in particular ways. And the idea of yoga is to experience or play with other experiences within ourselves. Okay, so we're all going to come onto our hands and our knees, onto all fours, yeah? Hands and knees. Now, as you come onto the hands and knees, I'd like you to close the eyes again and keep it really simple. Just let the hips sway. Just feel the body. Eyes are closed, inhaling and exhaling. Letting the hips sway a little, letting the shoulders shrug a little. Just feeling into the body, just noticing your body. Maybe there'll be little pockets of holding or tightness or soreness that you'll notice. Maybe there'll be areas of fluidness or freedom in the body that you'll notice. So just explore and feel. You let the hips sway, you take some deeper breaths into the ribs, some shrugging through the shoulders. The idea of moving your body in a way that feels fluid, that feels free. Just moving in that way for a few moments. Breathing in that way. So really be in the body, almost as if you're exploring it with a curiosity. How am I doing this morning? What am I feeling? And quite often, as we're feeling and we're noticing, particularly if there's soreness or tightness or discomfort, it's so easy for us to become disheartened. But I invite you to feel it in a way that's almost, you almost be neutral about it, just observing it. That it's neither good nor bad, it's just an experience. Keep going for a little bit longer. Don't forget about your neck and your head, just moving that too with the body. So there's a fluidness with all of that movement. Great. And then coming back to center, really, really simple here. The lower back relaxes. Now as the lower back drops a little, there's almost a sense of your bum sticking up. So it just lets your thigh bones actually drop a little deeper into your hips as you do that. And then any tightness you're experiencing in the back, and usually it's around the bottom back ribs, breathe into those spaces. Notice the breath can begin to allow these spaces to expand a little. And really, in terms of the pain that we experience in our body, most of it has something to do with contraction. That tissue gets used to contracting, and as you breathe into it, you're teaching it about expansion, to remember about its capacity to open and maintain space, and therefore fluidness in the body. Now, without moving, I want you to press your two knees away from each other and pull your two hands toward each other, just building a little bit of resistance. Continue to take deep breath into the ribs, like the ribs are a balloon that you're expanding. And then very simple, we'll tilt our left hip back a little and tilt our left shoulder forward a little. So we're just beginning to explore opening or lengthening the left side of the body. And the moment you hit a point of tightness or tension or resistance, I want you to pause and breathe into what you're meeting. Wherever it is, I want you to imagine you could breathe into that tightness, breathe into that tension. Just for 3. And for 2. And then for 1. Beautiful. And then releasing that. Now as you release it, have a little sway of the hips, a little shrug in the shoulders. Almost the idea of that movement, this fluid movement, be a way of kind of releasing any residual holding. Fill the ribs up, press the knees apart, pull the hands toward each other. And then slowly the right hip tilts back and the right shoulder begins to tilt forward. So just slowly lengthening. And again, wherever the tension is, probably on the right side, but you might also feel the left hip or left waist is tight. And again, it's not so much about how far you can get, how far you can go, but really we're interested in the quality of the experience. Yeah, so we in the West are trained into, you get from point A to point B and you get your reward. Really what we're interested in is just feel every nuance of the movement, just tune into it. So the moment you're connecting into any resistance in the body, any tightness, tension, soreness, you're pausing and you're meeting that place. You're not rushing past it, not trying to get further. Just meet it and breathe. Breathe for 3. Breathe for 2, and then for 1. So again, as you come back to middle, have a little sway in the hips, a little shrug through the shoulders, a few deeper breaths. Really simple stuff. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of work with our feet. Our feet are pointing behind us. I'm going to take the left foot, I'm going to slide it over the right foot, right over the center of the foot. Left foot over the right foot. I'm going to let my left knee slide out to the side so I'm not bending my left ankle, and then I'm going to begin to sit back on the feet, bringing the weight over the 2 feet. Now, if it's sore, you just don't go back all the way. So you can decide how much weight you bring. And then we're just going to see, can we sit here for a few moments? So you've got the left foot right over the arch, the center of the bottom foot. And then just breathe into what you're meeting, and quite possibly that bottom foot will be a little sore. We hold a lot of tension around the arch of the feet. So just letting that weight of the body, weight of the top foot. And what we're doing is we're pressing muscle onto bone. And you think about it in terms of a massage. A masseuse will do this, will push the muscle onto the bone. And it's the relationship of the muscle and the bone connecting that begins to dilate the muscle, begins to release the muscle. So it's almost like the muscle is designed to hug the bone. And when that happens healthily, the muscle then works in a way that has a very elasticated tone to it. And what happens for a lot of us is the muscle will separate from the bone for various reasons and become calcified hard. And then we'll come forward. And then just for a moment, if you tuck the toes under and just a little push down through one foot and the other foot, just to notice if you feel any difference in the 2 feet. And we'll go to the second side. So we're taking the right foot over the left foot, the opposite foot, letting that right knee tilt out to the side. So again, we don't want to just twist the ankle. And then as you go back, quite possibly you'll notice the 2 feet will feel different. There's a different sensation on this foot. And just giving it a little bit of time. Again, if you need less weight, you can come up a little or lean forward a little. But the feet are somewhat the forgotten part of our body. We trap them in these little leather satchels and they become calcified. The toes, the paw of the feet becomes stuck and the foot then can't do its job efficiently. And our foot is designed like a spring. It's designed to have a lightness in its connection to the earth. And actually that lightness amplifies a sense of groundedness or a sense of connectedness to the earth. So our sense of feeling safe or at ease in our system actually really begins down at the feet doing their job. So we're waking them up, we're meeting the resistance, you're breathing into it, and then we'll come out. And again, you can tuck the toes under, have a little push, notice the difference. 2 feet are beginning to shift and change. And now we're going to come all the way up onto the knees. Okay, very simple. So the toes are pointing back. I want you to see, can you spread the toes so you feel the toenails on the mat and even the top of the feet pressing down into the mat. So we're pushing the feet intentionally, actively into the floor, and then we're going to hold the base of the glutes. So as we hold the base of the buttocks, not the middle of the top, the base of the glutes, we sit the bum back to the point where you feel the muscle engaging and expanding. Back of the legs are working. And we're going to try to keep the weight through the legs, through the hips. Take the hands to the ribs, breathe into the ribs. Swell the ribs, like really see can you get the ribs to push out into the hands, the front, the side, the back. And as you do that, lift the ribs up. Try to lift them away from the hips, open up that side. Now, as you're doing that, as you're lifting the ribs, the hips stay back, we're going to arc a little to the left. Enjoy what you're meeting. Breathe into it. You decide how far you go. We come back through center, we breathe, we fill, we lift. We'll go in the other direction. Enjoy the breath again. It's all about meeting what's already there, the hidden tension in the body that we're carrying. Come back through center. One more time, fill up, lift the ribs, arc over to the left. Now this time, can you bring your left fingers really lightly to the floor? Really lightly to the floor. When you slide the left hand a little further, so we've got to take the hips back, go a little lower, push the left hand down as a way of opening up that right side a little bit more. Whatever feels available, and enjoy. Breathe into where you're meeting it. Where is it? In the hip, in the ribs, wherever it is, in the leg. Breathe into what you're meeting. Breathe 3, breathe 2, breathe 1, and we're going to come all the way back. So the hips are still back. We fill the ribs, we arc over in the other direction, hand lightly down. And again, we take the hips back a little further, whole of the hand down, and you're pressing that hand into the earth to again create a little bit more lengthening through the opposite side. Breathe into the tension. Doesn't have to be forced or strained. Sure, it's pretty uncomfortable or a little uncomfortable. Breathe. You got this. Breathe 3. Breathe 2. Breathe 1. And we come all the way back. Beautiful. Okay, let's forget about technique. We're up on the knees. Close the eyes. Notice your breath. Just close the eyes. No technique. Make it as easy as you can to be here. Just tune into the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to open the eyes. Let's take the right leg forward. So we're going to keep the right hand on the right knee, similar to the last pose we did, just different position with the two legs. Keep the right hand up, bring the left down, and then anchor the left hand. So really get into the fingers working, the thumb working, gripping the mat, engaging. So as the fingers engage, it brings in the engagement, the resistance up through the arm, as opposed to the tendency when the softer tissue isn't working, there's more of a compression, a dumping down into the hand. So we want to engage the hand and very much anchoring through the base of the fingers and the tips of the fingers, rather than just letting the weight be in the wrist. So you've got to work the hand, and if you get tired or you need a break, you just take a break, okay? Because these places are not used to doing this work. The crease of your elbow lines up with your thumb. So that brings the bones of the arm into a healthy alignment with the shoulder, and then we take that left hand onto the ribs, okay? Now, as you breathe into the ribs, I want you to shrug a little in the shoulders, just to let those two sides begin to lengthen. And then as you press down through the bottom hand, again, we're opening the opposite side, the top ribs, those right ribs. And breathe, just whatever feels available. Breathe for 3, wherever it is. We'll all have particular areas that will speak to us, or maybe shout at us. Just breathe, take your time. 3, 2, 1, and then we'll release. Let's take that leg back. Now for a moment, let's pause here, close the eyes again, relax. Come back and notice the breath, just tune into the breath. And then if you were to take slightly deeper breaths and feel the sides of the ribs as you breathe, can you notice the difference in the two sides, even after that one move? How that right side will be a little lighter, a little bit more lighter. And what we're beginning to tap into is the intrinsic lightness of our bodies. And so often it just gets covered with this heaviness that we then get kind of used to. You know, we're walking around in these systems that are lumbered with all of this contraction that we can begin to shed and release. Okay, so we take the left foot forward. We'll keep the hand up. Right hand comes down. Get the hand working properly, the arm aligned, left hand to ribs. As you take a few deeper breaths, a little shrugging, releasing through the shoulders and the sides of the ribs, then we begin to push the bottom hand down and see, can we open up those top ribs a little bit more? Can we breathe into what we're meeting? Enjoy that breath. Breathe 3. And breathe 2. Perfect. We release. We're going to go back to the first side. Same position. Again, any part, and this goes for, you know, no matter how advanced your practice may become, it's always going to be founded, you know, on how you're connecting to the earth, how you're building foundation. So, you know, get used to working it in a way that is integrated, where you're not relying on one place or you're not dumping into one part. And this is tricky for us because we're so used to not working in these ways, in ways that are integrated and balanced, but we're retraining the body to remember how to hold us, to support us. Okay, hand to the ribs, a little shrugging, a few deep breaths, and we're going to open up those top ribs. Now this time the left hand goes to, or the right hand, excuse me, the free hand, goes to the crown of the head. So you're holding, think of the center of the palm right over the crown. Head is neutral, elbows almost in front of your nose. Press the head back into the fingers. Take deep breath into the ribs. And then that top elbow is tilting toward the left side of the room. Left side. So it's opening up the body. And breathe, breathe, breathe. Now, if it's available, you turn a little bit to the sky. And if you want to go a little further, tuck the back toes. See, can you lift the back knee? And breathe, breathe. Open the throat. Breathe 3. Maybe the top ribs can arc a little bit more. Breathe 2. Breathe 1. And then we'll release it all. Okay, great. Second side. Hand on the knee, hand to the earth. Exploring, always exploring the body. Getting to notice where we hold, where we resist, where we're free. Anchor the bottom hand. Take the free hand to the ribs, or to the crown of the head, excuse me. Deep breath into the ribs. Press the head back, the elbows tilting, opening up that top side. We turn a little to the sky. Open the throat up. And again, if you want to, you can lift the back knee. Breathe. Breathe 3. Enjoy it. Breathe 2. And breathe 1. Perfect. Okay. Step the front leg back. Again, as we did before, we close the eyes. Forget about any technique. Get close to your breath. Inhaling. And exhaling. Okay. So, let's take the hands down to the floor. We come back to all fours. Lower back relaxed. Little sway in the hips just to facilitate that letting go. Few deeper breaths in the ribs. So pretty much for all of us, our rib cage is used to being in a contracted position. And we can take deep breaths and really encourage an expanding and really focus on the sides and the back as we do that. They're the areas that tend to be a little stagnant or disconnected. A little shrugging through the shoulders. Can you notice the space between the hips and the shoulders, the hips and the armpits as you move in this way? So continually exploring the idea of freedom in the body. And we do it in order to not only experience more space in our physical form, but more space in terms of our emotional well-being, our emotional body, and our psychological body, our cognitive experience. So the lower back is relaxed. That creates an arch in that space. The ribs are full. Notice where your head is. It'll tend to want to jut down. I want you to, rather than lifting your head up, I want you to lift your neck to the sky. And then let the gaze be slightly forward in front of you. Maybe a foot or two. Okay, very simple here. I'm going to tilt the left knee out to the left. I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to tilt the right knee out to the right. Bring it down, left side again. I'm just going to go side to side. Just feel into that, getting to move the hips in a way they're not used to moving. Stay with it. Now, what I'm trying not to do is tighten the belly and flatten the back. So I'm trying to keep the movement isolated. Most of us use the abdomen to move the hips and legs. Now, as the left knee tilts out to the left this time, pause and then begin to make circles with the left knee. Just notice, feel the hip, be in the hip as you're making these circles. Stay with it. Take it in the other direction. Bring it down, belly relaxed, lower back relaxed. Second side. Making these circles. And then other direction again. And again, we'll bring it down. Okay, this time, left leg goes straight back, right arm goes straight forward. And we bring them down. Other sides, other two sides. And we bring them down. First sides. Now this time, you can explore this. You bend the back knee so the back foot points toward the sky. You take the extended arm and you bring it back toward the foot. Maybe they touch, maybe they don't. It doesn't matter. Don't force anything, don't strain, and then you bring them both back to the floor. We extend the other two sides. We bend the lifted foot. We take the arm behind us. Again, maybe they touch, maybe they don't. And we release it all down. Perfect, you got it. We're going to come onto the forearms. We're going to interlace the fingers. Lower back is relaxed. We actively press down through the forearms. We take deeper breaths. We fill the ribs up. As you push the earth away, don't let the head drop down. Don't let the neck descend. Deep expanding breaths into the ribs. Lower back belly still relaxed. Without moving, push your knees away from each other again. And feel that action, what it does in your hips. That widening in the pelvis again. Just feel into that. Breathe. So this is our way of beginning to decompress these spaces that so often just get stuck. They're slightly out of alignment, they're slightly disconnected, and we're bringing them back into the fold. Let the legs release. Now, let's see how we get on. We're going to tuck the toes under, we're going to lift the two knees, we're going to walk the feet a little closer to the arms, but a little further apart. We're going to keep the knees wide like the ankles, keep them bent. Even here, you're trying to keep the arch in the lower back. Even here, you're trying to stick the bum up a little. We're looking down between the wrists or at the hands. The toes are gripping. We're still pushing the forearms down. Deep breath into the ribs. Now, can you stretch the legs a little straighter and can you bend the knees? And can you stretch a little straighter? 5. And bend the knees. Keep going. 4. 3. And 2. You got this. Last one. Perfect. Now bring the two knees down. Just breathe here. Just settle. Be still if you can. Breathe. Breathe into what you're meeting. Perfect. And then come on up. Come on up. Hands on the mat. Hands and knees. So same thing, but on the hands. Remember what we did with the hands? We spread the fingers. We grip the hands. We anchor through the tips and base of the fingers. Tuck the toes, lift the knees. Take the feet a little wider apart, bend in the knees, almost like a squatting position in the legs. You're trying to keep the arch in the lower back, and we pulse in the legs, pulse in the legs. Breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll bring the two knees down, and then just for a moment, soften, close the eyes, notice the breath, notice the inhalation and exhalation. Breathe. Inhale and exhale. Try not to drop or droop your head down. You know, it's amazing actually when it comes to the head and the neck, how disconnected they tend to be from the rest of our body. And how our practice again is this invitation just to reconnect all the places. And you know, it's an unlocking of a huge potential, you know, to just bring these places into alignment in terms of the physical, but also in terms of the cognitive, the emotional. You know, when the body and the head really begin to realign and connect and have a healthier relationship, things begin to work just more efficiently. There's more of a grace in the experience. Okay, one more time. Tuck the toes, lift the two knees, take the feet a little wider. And again, a little pulsing through the legs. You're trying to, again, to keep the arch in the lower back, which is tricky, I know. Okay, couple more. One more. And again, we bring the knees to the floor and we'll just pause. Inhale and exhale. And then tuck the toes under again. Lift the two knees. Okay. Take the feet a little wider. Now this is the tricky bit. I'm going to swing my heels and hips over to the left. So the right side is getting a big stretch now. Breathe into it. Bring it back to center. Go in the other direction. Breathe into what you're meeting. And then come back, lower the knees. Okay. Hands and knees, lower back relaxed, hips a little sway, ribs filling up, little shrugging through the shoulders. Bring the two legs over to the left, lower your hips to the right. So the hips are on the floor. Now the hips are heavy. You'll notice there's a heaviness in one arm and one hand. I want you to push the earth away, press the earth away. And without moving, pull your hands towards you. Without moving, pull your hands towards you. Breathe. Breathe into the tension. Just meeting it, breathing into it. Breathe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're going to come back onto the knees, back to hands and knees, little sway again. Just shrug the shoulders, just release whatever was experienced in the last pose. We'll go to the second side, lower the pelvis, push the earth away, pull the hands towards you. That's it. So whatever you're meeting in terms of the resistance, the tension, that's where the attention is, that's what you're breathing into. Breathe for 3, for 2, and then soften. Okay, come down onto your shoulder and all the way over onto your back. All the way over onto your back. Okay. Close the eyes. Let's keep the 2 knees bent. Rest the hands in the lower belly. Feel the 2 feet on the floor on the mat. Come back to your breath. Notice your breath. Notice your inhalation and exhalation. Notice the breath beneath the hands, or the movement that happens as you breathe. That's it, stay with that. And then could you bring the attention to the back of the heart or the back of the ribs and breathe into that space. Breathe into that space. A few more breaths. Okay. As the breath come back to its normal, natural. And then bring the 2 legs together. Cross the left leg over the right leg. Can you move your hips a little to the left? Just scoot the bum a little to the left. We'll let the legs drop over to the right. Okay. Now, if you find this is too much, you can put cushions or support the legs in some way. So organize that if you need to. The game is that there is a twist and it is about accessing some of the tightness or tension in the body, but it's absolutely not about straining or forcing. So whatever you're meeting, I want you to breathe into it again. Same principle, same idea. So wherever it is, even if it's these places that obviously you can't breathe into, but you can imagine you're breathing into them. And this is what it's about. It's about moving the energy in the body. So bringing space to those contracted places. And your awareness is the most powerful tool in doing that. Breathe into it. So you're meeting the tension, meeting the tightness. Stay with it. Perfect. Very simple. We'll bring the 2 legs back. We'll bring the hips back to center. We're going to keep the left leg on top. We're going to move the hips over to the right and tilt the knees to the left, just the other direction. Breathe into what you're meeting. The idea of even enjoying your practice, enjoying what you're getting to meet. Stay with it. Brilliant. Okay, we're going to come back again. We're going to uncross. We're going to take right leg on top. Now, the very same direction we were just in. So the hips go a little to the right. Knees are going to drop over to the left. All we're doing is just letting the body begin to unravel. It's that underneath all the tension that we either experience or are unaware of underneath it all there is this freedom, this innate freedom, this intrinsic freedom. And our physical body, our mental experience, our emotional experience, our energetic experience, they're all tied up together. So breathe into what you're meeting here. Be in the body. Be with your breath. Perfect. Let's come back to center. Again, we're going to keep the right leg on top, and we're going to move in the other direction. Take your time. There's no rush. There's nowhere to get to. Such an interesting thing to say. There's nowhere to get to. Obviously, part of us doesn't believe that, but there's another part that knows it to be true. Breathe into what you're meeting. And breathe 3. And breathe 2. And then 1. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to bring the 2 legs back. So let's extend the right leg out. Let's hold the back of the left thigh with the 2 hands. First thing I want you to do is a few deeper breaths, a little shrugging in the shoulders. Press the bum down if you can. So you notice if, as you press the bum down, the arch in the lower back engages and lifts a little. I want you to see, can you maintain an arch in the lower back? And then take the foot you're holding up and look at it and move it around. Move the toes, move the foot. Just feel. Feel. Where does it connect you to? Where's the tension? Breathe. As you meet somewhere that feels tight, can you just pause and give it a few moments and feel it and notice it? It's interesting that the only way to get through or past the tension is to go into it. You know, if it's there, it's there. It needs our attention, needs us to, you know, to work with it as opposed to deny it or force or push through it. Okay, so can you then keep the left leg up there, take the 2 arms wide and bring the left leg over toward the right. Now, it doesn't matter how far you go. You might go over, you know, halfway or less. You might go over all the way, whatever feels available. And again, what are you noticing in your body? Can you breathe into it? Breathe 5, 4, 3, 2, and then for 1. So we bring the leg back up and we release it all the way down. And then before we do anything else, just take a moment, feel your body. Notice the subtle difference in the 2 sides. Breathe. Okay, second side. So we're holding the back of the right leg. Again, a little shrug in the shoulders, a couple of deeper breaths. Push the bum down, so it's like an anchoring quality in the pelvis. Keep it as you take the leg you're holding up. That's it. Move the foot around. Just move slowly to explore and feel your body. You know, so much of this is really being with what's here, being with the experience of ourselves. And quite often when it's uncomfortable, we want to just get over it or move away from it or not believe it. But there's such a gift in doing the opposite, taking time and just meeting what's here for us. Like that's all the fuel or the food we need to become more connected to our freedom and more capable of having that richer experience in our lives. Keep the leg up, take the arms wide, bring the right leg over toward the left. And again, just breathing in to what you're meeting. Breathing into what you're meeting. That's it. Enjoy your breath. Breathe 2. And then 1. We're going to bring the leg up. We're going to release it down. Take a few breaths, just let the body be heavy on the floor, notice what's going on, just observing the body. Like so often our body is just this vehicle to get us from A to B. And, you know, usually it'll continue to do that as best it can. But in some ways these practices are payback, you know, they're like a gift to our bodies. And the body has a deeper wisdom that it's, or let's say has a language that really we're invited to learn. And it's only through this practice or these practices of slowing down, of tuning in, that we begin to hear the language of our body. And it's so interested in our freedom, it's so interested in supporting us. Bend the two knees, left ankle over the right thigh. Same thing you did before, you bring the hips a little to the left, and we release the legs over to the right. So we've got the sole of the left foot either on the floor or maybe it doesn't go all the way down. Either is fine, doesn't matter if it's hovering. What I want you to do is keep the left foot where it is, and then the left knee, very simple, tilts gently away from you. So it brings you into some of the tension in the left hip. And the game is, as with everything else we're doing, as you meet the tension, you're breathing into it. You're just taking your time, you're breathing into what you're meeting. You're not creating the tension in this moment, you're simply accessing what's already in there. Breathe into it. Stay with it. Breathe. Breathe 5, 4, 3, 2, and then for 1, we let that leg relax. And you just pick the left leg up and we bring it back. 2 legs come back, hips come back to center. And then we go second side. Right ankle over left thigh. We'll move the hips a little to the right, let the legs drop over to the left. Again, we've got the sole of the foot either on the floor, again it might hover above the floor. Either way, the sole of the foot is facing the floor, or horizontal, we could say. We keep the right foot where it is, and the right knee begins to tilt again away from you, just to bring you in to some of the holding in that right hip. And as you meet it, breathe. 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 Breathe 5, 4, 3, 2, and then for 1. So again, we just pick the right foot up, we bring it all the way back, we come back to center, 2 knees are bent. Okay, I want you to lift the knees over the hips, so the shins are now horizontal. Shins are horizontal. Put the hands in the front of the thighs, right up at the knees. Right up at the knees. Okay. Imagine your 2 feet are on a wall. Without moving your feet, your toes grip the wall, and you're trying to pull your feet down the wall without moving them. See, can you have a go at that? At the same time, I want you to push your knees into your hands. So the arms are straight, you're pressing the knees into the hands, the arms are just resisting. As you maintain that tone, can you press the bum down so you feel a little arching in the lower back? Can you press the back of the head down into the floor and then slowly lengthen the front of the throat a little bit more? Now breathe into the ribs like they're a balloon, and you can expand the balloon to its fullest. Stay with it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lower everything, release everything. Okay, perfect. Great stuff. Okay. One more time, lift the feet back into that position, hands on the knees. Remember the work through the feet, we call it a dig and drag, where the toes grip the imaginary wall, you're trying to pull the feet down the wall. Another way of explaining it is, without moving, you try to pull your heels to your bum. Press the bum down, press the knees into the hands. Now maintain it, take deep breaths. 5, 4, 3, 2, press the back of the head down, 1, and then release again. Beautiful, you got this. Okay, great. Okay, one more thing here. This time we'll keep the feet on the floor. The toes, again, like you did in midair, grip the floor. Without moving, you're pulling the feet to the hips, so the earth is allowing us to access that engagement much more easily here. You're pressing the bum down, so you feel the arch in the lower back lift a little. You're pressing the back of the head down, so you feel the neck will engage, but you also might get a little lighter in the shoulders. Okay? Now, keeping all of that, lift the chin away from the chest to open the front of the throat a little bit more. Take the two arms straight up to the sky. You're stretching for the ceiling. So much that the shoulders might actually come off the floor. They might. But you're noticing the back is broad. Front of the throat is open. Keep pulling the feet towards you. Keep pressing the bum down. 5. Deep breaths. 4. 3. 2. 1. And then everything releases. Okay. Bring the soles of the feet together. Let the two knees drop apart. If this is sore, you put something underneath the legs to support them. So it's important you get to relax in this position. And if it's not relaxing, please don't do it. Just keep the 2 feet on the floor. Hands rest on the lower belly. And I want you to close the eyes. And again, I want you just to breathe into that space. Breathe into the lower belly. Just notice that space. Stay with it. Inhale, exhale. Inhale and exhale. Breathe into the hands, breathe into the lower belly. Stay with the breath. And then, as before, could you go slowly and deeply with the breath? And you're connected to that space, the abdomen where the hands are. Let the main focus be there. That's it, stay with the breath. Stay with the inhalation and exhalation. As you did before, could you bring a pause between the breath? Just whatever feels comfortable. So the inhalation has this length and depth to it. There's a pause. Slow, long exhalation, a pause. And we'll just continue in this way for a little longer. Stay with the breath as you slide one leg out and then the other. So the 2 legs are extended. The feet are going to be a little wider than the hips. Body is relaxed. And we're staying with this longer breath. Stay with your breath. Stay with your breath. Stay with your inhalation and your exhalation. You're inhaling and you're exhaling. And then can you let the breath come back to its natural rhythm? Just release any of the holding. If you want to move the arms either side or keep them there. And the intention here is to let your body sink down into your mat. Let your body release. Inhaling and exhaling. So without moving, allow your attention to come back to your breath. Just notice the breath. You don't have to fix it or change it. You just have to let it be. And really, as we begin to allow the practice to support us, what we're really doing is, in some sense, stepping out of our own way. That we are conduits for life. And all of our work is how we allow that life force to move through us with greater ease. How we dissolve the blocks, the tensions that we carry. So as you lie here, just notice your body. Notice how you're feeling, how you're doing. And then could you take some deeper breaths? And as you take some deeper breaths, could you stretch a little? Could you move your fingers and your toes? And then bend your knees and roll over to your side. Get comfortable on your side. Use your hand to your arm like a pillow. And just come back to your breath. And if you can keep your eyes closed, great. And if not, that's perfect too. Make your way to sitting. And as your body gets still, first I want you to notice your breath again. Notice that we continually come to the breath and use the breath. That our relationship to our breath is intrinsically connected to our capacity to experience a greater sense of well-being. Part of it is that the breath simply happens. We don't have to work it out. There's nothing orchestrated about it. It's as old as we are. And that as we tune into it, the parts of us that so often get lost or distracted or caught up in these ideas of whatever it might be, they're anchored into this ancient part of us, this ancient practice. They reconnect to it, to the simplicity of it, the naturalness of it. And it eases us back to our deeper places, to our deeper, more connected places. Again, this idea that no matter what might be going on for us in our lives, we are never separate from our deepest self, that part that is connected, that is grounded, that is equanimous, that is at peace. That is all intrinsic to what we are. We just lose sight of it. So as we tune into the breath, it's a beginning to reconnect to that place. And of course, quite often we notice what distracts us. And maybe our tendency is to go with the distraction at times. And that's perfectly natural. But then you come back to the breath, and you come back, and you come back, and you build over time. Go to the foundation now to, what part of you that is connected to the earth, and just feel that place. Notice that place. You don't have to do anything, you just got to notice it. Your body will do the rest. Your nervous system will recognize that there is something solid there, that it's holding you, that it's supporting you, and it will begin to let the nervous system dilate. So part of what we experience or gain from our connection to the earth is a sense of being held, it's a sense of safety. In a world that so often makes us feel unsafe, these are the very simple, basic practices to remedy that, to anchor us into we are held. This is the deeper truth. But part of our nervous system is wired simply not to believe that. And if that's dominant, then it doesn't matter what we say. So we need to experience this sense of anchoredness or groundedness. So you feel the foundation. You know, even the idea of getting out into nature, taking your shoes off, holding a tree, feeling nature, holding nature, and it will support you in that way. Notice your breath again. Just the breath as it moves through you. And then bring your hands together in front of the center of the chest. And even notice the way your hands meet, how the left and the right instinctively know how to both give and receive evenly. They don't have to work it out. One doesn't force the other. There is this deeper knowing. And we ask that our practice this morning support each of us in having a sense of that deeper knowing, that place of deeper presence or deeper groundedness, a place of rich connection within us. Even though we may have stories of the lack of that, we might be consumed by whatever it might be, whatever discord or discomfort might be moving through our lives. May we still allow that ground of being to become somewhere that we are maybe even beginning to glimpse. And we take our hands to our forehead and to our lips, and then back to the heart. And may our practice for ourselves and for each other, that as we come together as a community, even if we're physically apart, we're coming together with intention to do these practices, that we are not only beginning to create a shift in our own lives, but working together in this way allows us to go a little deeper, that it amplifies the work. So to ourselves and to each other, we bow our heads. Namaste. Good work. Thank you very much for joining in today. I hope you have a good day. I'm down in Kerry at the moment, so I'm in a garden in Kerry, which is an absolute pleasure and a blessing. And we are back on Wednesday, 10:15 on Wednesday. What else? There's a few evening classes still to happen on Thursday evenings. There's 3 more Thursday evenings, 5:30 to 7:30. So they're on my website if anybody wants to do any of those. They're 2-hour practices. They're a little longer, and it's a really a slow, steady going into that stiller space. And then we have a month of meditations coming up in September. So a month of meditations for anybody who's willing to do that challenge. And we did one in June, and it was fantastic. It's a really great way of really building and cementing a practice that will, I guarantee, support you in dropping into a greater place of wellness or well-being. It's a really great practice to get into. And it's very simple and very accessible. And the practices we do live on Zoom at 8 a.m, but if that doesn't suit, you can get the recording and do it whenever it does suit you during the day. So I wish you a great day. Hope you have a good day. See you guys.